This is Fearless Friday. High school football coverage powered by FearlessFriday.com. Every game, every hit. Every Friday night. Fearless Friday starts now on Fox 24. Sponsored by Crane Automotive Team.
Well, it's another Friday, everybody, a special Halloween edition. Some of you may have been out trick-or-treating with you and your loved ones. We were locked in on high school football. There were certainly some tricks. There were certainly some treats on the gridiron this Fearless Friday evening. Thank you for joining in. I'm Casey Smith on this special Halloween edition of the digital exclusive Northwest Arkansas Fearless Friday. And it seems like, you know, we're usually starting in the 6A or 7A West Conference because that's usually where our game of the week is. But in the wise words of Lee Corso, not tonight, sweetheart. We start in the 4A Region 1 where Gravette played host to Elkins, and our Dylan Nooner was out there tonight, and he tells us how this week's game of the week went down.
It's our Northwest Arkansas game of the week. It's the Gravette Lions hosting the Elkin Elks with first place in the 4A Region 1 Conference on the line here tonight. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We pick it up first quarter. Quarterback Ben Napier directing traffic and fighting his guy Trey Ryan to open up the scoring. 7-0 Elks midway through the second half after a Lions fumble. It's Napier this time taking it himself right up the middle to extend the lead to 14-0. Ensuing possession, Lions trying to get something going on offense. It's J.D. Beam running into a wall, but getting a little help from his friends to get the Lions on the board. And that's all the scoring so far in this one. It's the Elks leading 14-7 at the half. These defenses continue to dominate here in the second half, with both offenses really struggling to get any type of momentum going. The Lions did tack on a field goal to make things 14-10, but that's our score here in the fourth quarter. Let's go ahead and send things back to the studio, see how this one wrapped up.
You can see it on the bottom of your screen there. They were able to take home the win. Elkins, that is, 21-6. Thank you, Dylan. And hey, it was a lot of fun in the 4A1 region there, as you just saw. So why leave? You know, we dropped down from number 1 and number 2 that we just showed you to the number 3 and number 4 squads in Prairie Grove. They're on a 2-game skid right now, but Gentry tonight, the Pioneers, they entered play 7-1 on the season. So let's go ahead and show you how it got underway. Fast forward midway through the first half, game's tied 14-all. Gentry's ball in the red zone. Quarterback Talon Williams, what a first name. I know a lot of Arkansas fans happy connect with his favorite receiver. They're up 22-14. This one back and forth all night. Prairie Grove quarterback Isaac Moss goes long to Blake Coran. They get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. They're tied at 22. And second half now, Pioneers pull back in front. Williams keeps it himself this time. Touchdown, Gentry up 28-22. And this one, it turned into a touchdown fest in the second half. Prairie Grove and the Tigers' coveted wing T offense hang on. They score a big road win over Gentry, 52-50. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other games happening in the 4A Region 1 Conference tonight. A pair of teams in the cellar right now, but Berryville, they pick up their first win in league play tonight with a 31-15 win over Lincoln. Meanwhile, Huntsville takes care of Green Forest on the road, 37-34 in a game that, get this, needed multiple overtimes to decide a victor. What a treat for the people down there in Green Forest tonight. They were certainly treated on the gridiron. So where does that leave things in the 4A Region 1 rankings with a week to go in the regular season? I can't believe that we're only a week away from the playoffs. Certainly an exciting time, especially for the Elkins Elks. They only have one loss on the season, a non-conference loss to Dardanelle early on. They lock up the 4A1 1 seed tonight with their win over the Lions. Gravette, they can't let one loss turn into 2 because they have Gentry on deck in a game that's going to decide the league's number 2 seed. Prairie Grove, they quietly put together a solid finish to the year, especially with that win tonight with Huntsville, Berryville, Green Forest, and Lincoln rounding things out. Let's go ahead and drop to, or I guess move up a couple classes to 6A now, where the Greenwood Bulldogs are putting their 74-game home winning streak to the test tonight against Fort Smith Southside, who's looking for a big lift in a big way. First drive of the game, Greenwood, they're knocking on the door. How about a little eye candy coming across the formation? Braden Rennick on the jet sweep. He gets the corner. Dogs are up 7-0 just a few minutes into play, but it didn't take them long to get back inside the 5. Kane Archer pop pass. He gets a free touchdown pass to his credit to Champ Davis, and you can take a wild guess how this one's going to go. We're still not out of the first quarter yet. Bulldogs, they're set up shop on the 36-yard line, and Archer, He uncorks a dime down the field right in the breadbasket for Champ Davis once again. I'm sure UCF's loving to see that. Archer finishes with 6 touchdowns on the night, becomes the first ever quarterback in the natural state history, the great history of Arkansas high school football here. He's the first to throw for 100 touchdowns and add 50 more on the ground. Greenwood dominates Southside 56-21. The Bulldogs, they've now won 75 straight at Smith Robinson Stadium. And a pair of teams right on Greenwood's heels, both sitting at 4-1 entering play tonight in the 6A West Conference. We head on out to Blakemore Field, where the Van Buren Pointers taking on the Mountain Home Bombers, who have arguably the best nickname, in my opinion, in the natural state. We picked this one up midway through the first quarter. Bombers, they're up a deuce after a quick safety early on. Connor Scholes, he catches this one right around his own 14-yard line. And remember, it was a free kick after that safety, so the kicker, he's out kicking his coverage a little bit. Scholes picks up a head of steam, makes a man miss around midfield, and he is gone. Mountain Home, they lead 8-0 early on. The defense, they've scored. Special teams has scored. Mountain Home's offense says, hey, I want to join the party too. Brantley Phillips, he uncorks a C to a wide, and I mean wide open Barrett Miller down the far sideline. Defender takes the wrong angle, and Miller, he's in the end zone. Bombers lead 14-0. Mountain Home piling it on throughout the first half. A comfortable enough lead to coast to a 44-20 victory. So let's go ahead and look around the rest of the league now. Shiloh Christian, they handle their business down in Lake Hamilton on the road, 63-12. The Saints, they continue their dominance in the 6A West. Certainly don't count them out. Siloam Springs picking up its first win of the year, picking off Russellville, and the Panthers, they win 21-6 over the Cyclones. And as for where things stand in the 6A West Conference, Greenwood, obviously, it feels like it's just an annual thing that they're going to be sitting atop the conference undefeated, 9-0 so far this season. That sets up a matchup with Mountain Home next week, though. For all the marbles, Mountain Home could jump Greenwood with a victory because they'd have that head-to-head victory win in conference play. So wouldn't that be something if the Bombers could take care of business and actually win the league in the regular season? Shiloh Christian, though, they're lurking. Don't count out the Saints whatsoever. Last year's state runner-up in the 6A Conference. Van Buren, despite the loss, still putting together a solid 2025 campaign, with Southside continuing its slide. Siloam Springs and Lake Hamilton both at a win apiece, and Russellville, they have a chance to get in the win column next week at home against Lake Hamilton. And now we jump up to 7A West play, where the top dogs, even though they're in the feline family, the Bentonville Tigers, they had a home date tonight against Springdale in their first contest at Tiger Stadium in 3 weeks. Tigers are already up 7-0. How about the Jack Links Beef Jerky Sasquatch out on the field? Obviously, they ride the motorcycle out on the Tiger Stadium field every single time. But Tigers, they get another short field because Garrett Wolfe strips the ball. The ball's loose, and he comes up with it. Bentonville with the ball here. Tigers quarterback Cole Slepecki gets to work over the middle, and it's Arkansas commit Blair Irvin III. He weaves his way through traffic, finds the end zone, 14-0 Tigers. Bentonville defense on another level in the first half. You know, head coach Jody Grant told me that they have a really good defensive team. It's Garrett Wolfe again having himself a game. He steps in for an interception. That gives another short field. Chris Ficklin, an underrated running back in my mind, puts him up 21-0. A little bit of trickery as well from the Tigers. Slepecki with the handoff to Daquan Prevost, who then slings it downfield to Jack Dunn. First down inside the 20. From there, it's Ficklin from 3 yards out. He finds the pylon there, and they run away with this one 63-7 over Springdale. They lock up the 7A West regular season title. And then dropping down to the number 2 team in the conference, the Rogers Mounties, maybe more like the 1B team, if you want to call it that, in the 7A West, because they're good in their own right. Obviously, they fell just a few points short to Bentonville a week ago. They were at Wildcat Stadium taking on Harbor tonight. We start at the tail end of Rogers' first drive of the game. It's not going to get any easier for Jeff Regan. He quite literally walks into the end zone there. They are up 7-0 after he strolls in 6 yards out. Down 7-0. Harbor was on the move in the first drive. Reed McAllister was a bell cow for the Wildcats. Later in the drive, though, it looks here like he coughs up the football with a Rogers clear recovery there by Braxton Lindsay. The refs rule him down by contact. But hey, ball don't lie. Don't forget it. Inside the 20-yard line, Harbor going for it on fourth down. Bryce Owens' pass falls incomplete, just out of his reach of his intended receiver. And a couple drives later, Rogers getting a lift from its defense in the form of a 41-yard scoop and score by Jagger Blockberger. Yes, that's a real name, an early candidate for the Northwest Arkansas All-Names team. Keep an eye out for that. The Mounties, they cruise 42-19. And taking a peek at the other two games in the 7A West Conference tonight, Heritage, they got on the board twice, but Hank Hendricks and company steamrolled the War Eagles 51-14. And Bentonville West's magical season continues. The Wolverines at 7-2 on the year after tonight's 56-0 win. And let's go ahead, as we just mentioned, the standings there in the 7A West Conference. Bentonville locking up the 1 seed in the 7A West with their win tonight. They also hold that head-to-head tiebreaker over Rogers with last week's win. Bentonville West and Fayetteville both sit at 3-4. Springdale holds the tiebreaker over Harbor, and Heritage and Northside rounding out those standings there. And while we're at it, let's have a little bit of fun around here. Let's go ahead and look at the playoff picture in the 7A right now. And if they started today, Bryant, Bentonville, Conway, and Rogers, they'd all have a bye, rightfully so. They're the 4 best teams in the conference. And in our area, Bentonville West and Fayetteville will both be hosting first-round playoff games. Things could slightly shake up maybe a little bit after this week, but a lot of these matchups likely set in stone. So there's a sneak peek there in the 7A. Now dropping down to the 5A West tonight, Greenbrier, they continue their dominance of the league. They take care of Harrison 49-20. Farmington pitching its second shutout of the season, blanking Clarksville 56-zip. And Morrilton back in the win column. The Devil Dogs have won 4 of the last 5, defeating Valonia 42-14. Alma scoring their second win in the 5A West this year with a 2-score win over Pea Ridge. And rounding things out, let's drop down to the 3A Region 1. Can't forget about them. Greenland making the trip down to Mansfield, and they learned the hard way why the Tigers are the top school in the conference. The Pirates fall 54-6. Charleston bouncing back after that loss to Mansfield a week ago. They take down their 3rd-ranked team in the 3A, 21-7. Hackett making quick work of West Fork, 44-16, and Cedarville, they beat Lavaca in a little bit of a clunker, I guess, 14-8.
Fearless Friday Player of the Week, sponsored by Miller Commercial Flooring and Bentonville Glass.
We've been talking about the instant classic that we saw just a week ago. It was a real treat for myself to see between Bentonville and Rogers in the 7A West Conference. And the Tigers' victory was in large part to the work of wide receiver Conrad Schmitz. In some people's eyes, certainly not mine, Schmitz flies a little bit under the radar, sharing the wide receiver room with Arkansas commits Daquan Prevost and Blair Irvin III. However, Schmitz has been lighting up the stat sheet. You kind of forget about him a little bit until he's torching your team. Last Thursday, he hauled in not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdown passes en route to a 31-28 victory. And for that performance, he earned last week's Player of the Week honors, his second time doing so this year. Be sure to tune back into Fox 24 News at 9 on Monday, where we'll reveal not only this week's Player of the Week, but also next week's Game of the Week, something you're not going to want to miss. And remember, you can always head on over to fearlessfriday.com to get all the latest scores, plus standings, highlights, and much more. That's going to do it for us here for our digital exclusive Northwest Arkansas Fearless Friday night special Halloween edition. So go ahead, load up on that candy, get that sugar high, and get excited for next week when we do it all again. I'm Casey Smith. Have a great weekend, everybody.